Well, hello. Here we are. It's been a little bit of a while since I've been able to just get sat down with the knitting and with the space and the quietness in the house, just to be able to sit and update you on how things are going, how the knitting's going, how the life is going in general. And it's Sunday afternoon. The family have just gone out to walk Dougal, the Dunder dog, and over there in the sitting room, this morning's sermon is currently transforming itself into an MP4 or whatever it is it needs to be before it goes on the internet a little bit later. So it's just me and Angus, the tortoise. He's over there. If you can hear any scraping, that's him over there. And if you've got really good hearing, which I don't necessarily, but I just caught whiff of it just there, there's some neighbours practising the bagpipes. Can you get much more Scottish than that? The neighbours are practising their bagpipes somewhere. It's probably some of the young people actually that you've seen before here on the channel. But anyway, enough of that. It's good to see you. Welcome to this little extra stitch. As I was saying probably last time, the intention is that I'll be able to do you a decent episode some point soon, but I'll tell you, this last little period has been absolutely chaos. Lots of extra things. I mean, good chaos. Not bad chaos, good chaos. Lots of good things going on. I think I might have told you this last time, but I'm on the way to becoming full time at the church. Stepping back from paid employment at Sanquhar Christian Centre, although I'll still be involved up there. But lots of transition because, say, as I've mentioned before, church is growing, lots of extra people to visit, lots of children, families, young people, all that sort of jazz. So that's been busy. And then, of course, because I'm stepping back from my employment at Sanquhar, we've got lots of things to sort out in terms of how things are going to work in the future. So that's what I've been doing, as well as just all the busyness of life and stuff. I do a few other things other than just knitting. Believe it or not, I actually do. And in this last little season, I've been still been playing with the brass band. I'm still doing some singing workshops. I'm teaching a young man how to play the trumpet, as well as everything else. Mother-in-law's now here, as you know. Been getting her sorted out with various things around the house, some extra gardening, administration in that department. So that's been going on there. And in the midst of all that, trying to get my knitting done, trying to get everything, going smoothly. And then the next biggest thing is, you may remember me saying some time ago that we are in this place, temporary accommodation. This house that we live in, very nice house, not lovely big house. It belongs to the Scottish National Church, the Church of Scotland, and they at some point will be selling this place. And so we've been on the hunt for a new abode for us and the family. And when I say family, it's just going to be myself, Tracy, and our youngest, Lucy, because our middle daughter, having passed her exams, is heading off to the University of Edinburgh in the summer. So that's very exciting. So we've got our eyes on a new place, and it will be a joint venture with ourselves and the church that I serve. Getting the house and getting everything spick and span. So we're in the sort of exploratory stage at the moment. We've got our eyes on the house. We're doing all the things that you need to do to sort out houses and stuff, and I've got no real clue. I mean, I've never bought a house in my entire life. I've always lived in houses that are linked to the church, so it's all new to me. But that's all very exciting, and that's all. So I'm saying all that because that's really the reason that I've been so very tardy in getting stuff going. It's just been a whole lot of happy busy. So anyway, how are you doing? It's been a while. I hope you've managed to do lots of different knitty projects, crafty projects, and I hope in general that life is as well as it can be with you. We all know how life goes. You get good bits and bad bits, but I hope you're in a good place just now. And I hope that just joining me for a wee while this afternoon will be a little bit of an opportunity to get your knitting out. I hope you've got the kettle on, all that sort of stuff. I made a rookie mistake and didn't put the kettle on before I sat down to record, but there we are. Anyway, is it time to do a little bit of an update on the old knitting projects? Well, as you can see, I am knitting away here, and this is the Anker Sweater, and it's one of the small sizes. I'm doing a size, it's a child size, so I'm doing the size 1 to 2 years old, and as you can see, it starts here with the, this is the neck, and then you've got 4 sections of 6 rows of rib, and then after this the pattern goes into a little bit of raglan sleeve, and then it's just stockinette for the rest. So I've really been enjoying this little simple knit, and you're all sitting there thinking, why is he not doing the Dustland? Why is he not doing the Dustland? Why is he not doing the Dustland? That's what you're saying, isn't it? Well, I am doing the Dustland. I am doing the Dustland. But the reason I'm doing this is because, as I showed you before, when I bought some new wool to continue on for the sleeves of my Dustland, it arrived in a colour that was supposed to be the same, but is completely different. Now, I know you can't see fully because of light and shade and all that sort of shenanigans. There's no good place to put that so you can see it. But that's the original that I was using for the Dustland, and that is the new shade. As you can see, it really is quite different. So what I decided I would do is that, seeing as I had ordered some lovely wool in the colour that was supposed to be the same as the Dustland, but then turned out not to be the same as the Dustland, I thought I would start this little sweater as just a way of using up that wool without having to send it back, you know, because it's wool, you're always going to use it. Yarn, you're always going to find a use for it, and I think I've got 300 grams of it, which were intended for the sleeves of the Dustland, but they're going to be that new little project. So that's what's happening over there. Now, as I say, I had put out a terrible plea on on Instagram and Facebook that if anyone had any wool shops or stash or whatever where they could find some Sardar Country Classic in the dye lot that I was doing for my Dustland, to please let me know. And lo and behold, the word went out on the interwebs, and a very kind lady, who I won't mention by name, but who I do want to mention and say a huge big thanks to, managed to find some of the Sardar Country Classic in the dye lot 11492, which is what I am using for the Dustland. So I now have 6 balls of this wool. It's only 50 gram balls. So see, I've got 300 of this as well, to finally finish off the sleeves for the Dustland. So what's going to happen with that is, when I've got a spare moment for sanity's sake, I'm going to go into the process of picking up the sleeves. Now, the reason I haven't done that yet was because, having got to this stage, you know, here it is again, it's got the body, it's got the sleeves just waiting to be done. The reason I haven't done that yet is, first of all, procrastination. And let's face it, procrastination is a real thing. Second of all, obviously had to wait for the yarn. Thirdly, I went to the instructions on the Dustland for the sleeves, and let's just say I think I'm going to need a few moments just to sit down quietly with the said instructions for the Dustland and the sleeves and figure out what has to happen. Not that the picking up of the stitches for the sleeves is complicated, not that getting going with the pattern again, going down the arms with the various, as you say, as you see, it's various stitch patterns going down. That's not going to be hard to pick up. You know, the next one's going to be the diagonal rib, then the moss, then the broken rib, then the diagonal, then the etc, etc, etc. That's not the bit that's worrying me. What is worrying me just a little bit, you know, cast all your anxieties on him and, you know, he will care for you and all that sort of thing. Well, you know, it's that the instructions for the sleeves are not as dummy-proof, as foolproof as I would like them to be. I mean, I think it sort of says, you know, get your stitches on your needles and cast on a few extras for the, you know, for the underarms, and then start in pattern. But then you've got this whole decrease certain stitches at a sort of weird kind of level so that your sleeves taper, and there's nothing like, there's no like knit, you know, 12 rows and then decrease some. It's just sort of like more or less make it up as you go along, and so that's put a little bit of sort of caution into my head. So what I really need to do is, once I've got a spare day off, where I've got no other sort of things clamouring for my attention, I need to be able to sit down and have a good think about that and a good try at that, and then I'm sure the Dustland sleeves will come on quicker than a quick thing. You know, it's going to be fine. So really relieved to have found the wool. Thank you so much to that lovely YouTube viewer who helped me find that wool and gifted it. I mean, that's amazing. The craft community is absolutely amazing. Thanks again to Martin at Knits365, who was the one that suggested that I make an Instagram post so that he can share it and, you know, get the news out there. So it's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm so pleased to have found that wool in that particular dye lot. And then there's the question of the Dustland itself, because I do have a sense that once I'm done, part of the reason I think why I was short of yarn in the first place is it's probably got more length on the body than it needs. I've got a suspicion that that might be the case. And so I think there's a possibility, even when I've got the arms done, that this section here between my arms, I've got a sense that this may end up being pulled back. Maybe even to beyond this, to maybe up to there, because what I discovered before, as I told you, is that when I got to this broken rib, I then started to do the rib that they recommend for the bottom of the sweater. And I didn't feel that this rib and this rib went well together. That's why I did this middle section. So I've got a wee suspicion that where I've gone wrong with this is I should really have finished here after this moss stitch. And then after the moss stitch, I should have gone straight into the rib. But one of the reasons I didn't is that because although I think this is, look at the length of it. What was I actually thinking? But having said that, I mean, I'm 5'10", and weirdly, most of my height is actually in the top half of my body. I mean, it's not. Well, I'm not equal halves. I'm much taller from the waist up than I am from the waist down. I have got short legs. Clarks have short legs, so that's been a well-known joke in our family for a long time. So I do have a longer torso as well as rounder torso. So that's what I was thinking in terms of the size. So I do have a feeling that is probably where my missing yarn has gone. It's actually on the end of the sweater. But anyway, that is the absolute saga of the Dustland. And you know what? It's learning experience, isn't it? You knit something and not everything's going to work straight away. Not everything's going to be something that's going to just work. Every project I've ever done has been a learning curve. And even although I've been knitting now for 10 years, pretty much constantly, I'm still really at the learning stage. Anyway, so that is the saga of the Dustland. And as I say, if you're hearing noises over there, it's Angus. I don't know what Angus the tortoise, I don't know what he's moving about for. Probably because he can hear my voice, you know. Anyway, I have been doing other things. As I say, just to show you again, what I was knitting on as we came in is the Anker Sweater, the baby size, child size, and this is the one to 2 years old. So I think that this is going to be a nice little project. It's after this little rib bit, it's split for the sleeves, a little bit of raglan increase, split for the sleeves, and then it's stuck in its stitch right to the end, and that'll be finished soon enough. And although I don't have any active 1 to 2 year olds in my life, well, do I? Yeah, I think I know some kids, but they might not want sort of khaki, greeny, whatever colour this is. Anyway, so I'm working on that, and I'm hoping that will be a quick project. And I have to confess that the reason I went on to do a child's project was that I was just really looking for something that, you know, would be quick and easy to get that little buzz of satisfaction, as in I've actually knitted something and it's complete and I've got something to show for it. Because after the Dustland, you know, it's a long project in many ways. So I'll be glad to see the back of that now. I've also, I can't remember if I'd finished these by the time I did the extra stitch last time, but I finished a pair of socks. I think I probably finished the one sock, but I've now got a pair in Regia's what do you call it? Sock yarn. Yeah, so there we are. I'm not convinced that these are both sort of like the same length. I mean, I think one's maybe just a tiny bit shorter than that, but they'll stretch, won't they? They'll stretch. You know, they'll stretch. And once you get them on your feet, it'll be fine. Again, this was the pattern from the Crazy Sock Lady, and the reason I like it is because it teaches you to do the heel flapping gusset type thing on circular needles. So that was that. Regia yarn. So they're all done. I don't know what's going to happen with those. No idea. But it was good to have them. I was doing these at Knit Club, which I go to on a Wednesday, and I was also doing these at the last Sanic Stitches retreat, because I got to a difficult stage with the Dustland, started the socks. So that is at least a finished object there. But as well as the unfinished Dustland, the unfinished Anker Sweater for kids, I've also been working on the Cedar Sweater. It's a design by Jessica McDonald. I told you about it probably, I don't know if it was a main episode or a whatever it is I was working on there, but I'm doing well with this. As you can see, I haven't been doing this a lot. I don't even know what I'm saying now. I haven't been doing it a huge lot, but I have been doing it at Knit Club, and that's a wonder in and of itself. Because you start with a nice collar. There's short rows at the back, so you've got a larger grey section at the back, and then you go into this beautiful pattern. It's only colour work at the yoke, round the top, and there's little green splodges. There's little orange doojima whatsits before some green splodges and some. It's almost like some brown orangey X's nose, and then more green splodges, and then there's a larger sort of snowflake rose type pattern still to come. So that's what's coming next, and then I think after that it's time to split for those sleeves. You can see it at the back there. It's looking nice. I can't quite get the right camera angle to show you what is really happening there. It's doing okay. However, I did notice I'm going to have to go down, I think in this section here, in this sort of this orangey brown section that goes around, I think for some of that I've got a slight miscalculation of stitches. If I can show you that, you probably can't. You see that X there looks more like a K, just that one there. I think I've probably sort of done one too many of something. So what I'm going to do with that is when I've got towards the end of the sweater, as in the entire project, I'm going to go back and then do some Swiss darning or duplicate stitch, just over those ones that are slightly wrong. And if there's some colour needs to be added, I'm going to add that a little later, because honestly, I'm not going to take it back. I didn't notice it until I brought it home from Knit Club and was just looking at it and thought, that's not quite right. But I just put it aside, and then I picked it up again when I was at Knit Club, and I could just see exactly what I'd done. I just put a stitch out, and when you've got colour work, that's quite significant if you're a couple of stitches out, you know. But as I say, too late to do anything about it. So that'll be a duplicate stitch mend. I'm really enjoying this project. Although these things always look impressive and complicated, any of you who do any sort of Fair Isle or colour work knitting will know that, I mean, once you get started on these rows, you're pretty much doing the same thing. I mean, I think each pattern repeat, I mean, it's a sort of wedge shape, but each pattern repeat is only sort of 8 stitches or 10 stitches at a time. So you're only memorising those 10 stitches and going all the way around the garment. And often it's like, in the case of these little green bits here, it's grey one, you know, grey one, green one, grey one, green one for a couple of rows. And even these X's and O's, you might have 3, then 1, then 3, then 1, then 3, then 1, and so it's not complicated. So if you've never done any colour work, I mean, I would encourage you to have a go. At it. You end up with a really nice project. You end up with something that looks really impressive, that you can be really proud of. But the actual process is a little bit, it's quite simple, really. And as I say, when I'm doing my colour work, I tend to, a little bit of a fankle here. I'm at the beginning of the row. So I think I've been holding the working yarn in the green, in my, it's all mixed up because I've just brought it out of the bag to show you. But anyway, I'll be holding the green over my left finger, and the grey, which is the main working yarn, wherever it is, there it is. I'll be holding that in my right, and I'll be knitting away and picking up the green and throwing the grey. So that's what I've been doing. Sorry for the fankle. If I'd been organised at all, I could have got that sorted nicely for you, and I could have showed you that in a professional, podcasty, YouTuber type way. But as it is, not as organised as I could be. So that is what's happening in my little knitting world at the moment. I feel as if we've got plenty to do here at the moment with my knitting, the Dustland, with the Red Cedar Sweater by Jessica McDonald, and that jumper, the grey jumper with the colour work, that's for Tracy, and I'm hoping that will be done come the winter. As I say, after that one motif, about 10 stitches high, of orange, or is it green sort of Norwegian rose type pattern. I think it's like stockinette stitch forever, and obviously sleeves and all that sort of thing. I'm hoping that coming into the summertime, we'll maybe get a holiday coming up, that might be good knitting for that, or, you know, just all that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping that will be finished by, it's not going to be a present for Christmas or anything, because Mrs. Clark already knows that it's on its way. She picked the pattern, she picked didn't pick the wool per se, but she was happy with the colours and everything like that. So that's where that's going. That little, this little Anker Sweater by Petite Knit, and those little rib sections really cute. I'll show you that when it's finished. A really cute little section. That won't take very long at all. And so I'm using up the wrong dye lot for that. So between all, sorry, you've gone a bit funny. Oh, hang on a minute. There we are. Oh. Now that was a good bit of exciting fun, wasn't it? I bought one of these. Fancy, gimbal thingies with like buttons and like super zoom whatsits and something that follows your face and all this sort of fancy, stuff. When I'm back to being out and about, taking you places, I thought it'd be sort of trendy to do all this stuff. But what I'm doing. What I've discovered is you actually have to charge this thing, surprise, surprise, because it's actually got like, electric bits and bobs and stuff and things and all that. And of course, I did see that little red flashing light there. I did see it, but I thought, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's flashing for. Obviously that means it was running out of charge and I had to charge it up. So I thought one of you had kicked the table or something like that and we'd fallen over, but there we are. Anyway, new gimbal thingy, isn't it? It looks quite impressive, but more faff than it's worth. You're now sitting on a music stand. Isn't that exciting for you? Anyway, where were we? So I was just saying that's my knitting lot for the moment. That's what I've been working on, and I would say the only thing that's really enabling me to do a good bit of knitting at the moment is the fact that I go to knit club. Without a doubt, I carve that little slot in my week on a Wednesday, and there's not a lot that prevents me from getting along to that. And I'm not the only gentleman there. There's another chap there, which is good. It doesn't quite even up the equilibrium, but it's good to know that one is not alone. And we have a good time. There's a group of lovely folks from all around the island that gather down in our little craft shop on a Wednesday afternoon, and that's good fun. A bit of chat and a bit of what are you working on and all that sort of stuff. And the ladies there and the gents are all different stages of experience when it comes to knitting, so we can help each other out. And one of the ladies who works in the shop also does a lot of test knitting for King Cole and various other things, so she's quite an experienced person. She helps everyone out and all that sort of stuff, so that's good fun. So that's where I'm getting most of my knitting done. Having said that, this little thing, I've been able to do some knitting just by the telly in the evening. Not that I watch a lot of telly. I tend to watch stuff on YouTube, like knitters and crafters and all that sort of thing. That's my main from the world, because isn't the world still a crazy place? Whether you're in the States with all your political goings on, or all the things that are happening in the Middle East and other parts of Europe, and here in the UK things are crazy. Here in Scotland we've just had a resignation of a First Minister, and we're due to have another one. All sorts of things, and here in the UK we're heading towards a general election at the end of the year, and that will probably mean a new government for us, because the guys that are in at the moment, they're quite low in the polls for a myriad of reasons which I won't bore you with, so I'm thinking it's going to be feeling a little bit different by the time we get to Christmas. But there we go. The world does its thing, and we don't allow it to rob us of our peace, do we? We just keep on knitting, keep on chatting. Now, as to future things, as I say, I am going to be, I promise you, I am going to be working on a proper episode. And I've been doing a little bit more thinking about both a knit along and any little charitable project that we can be doing over the summer, so that we can be doing some charity stuff into the winter and giving some stuff away. So tune in to the next episode where I'll be telling you about the charity knit for this year. But I'm thinking about a knit along. And one of the things that's really interested me for quite a number of years now, but which I have never explored, is to look at Sanquhar patterns. Now, that's spelt very differently from how it's said, and I'll put the spelling along here. Sanquhar is a town in Dumfries in Galloway, sort of at the south of Scotland, and Sanquhar is a community which is famous for its own particular style of colorwork knitting. The patterns tend to be small and intricate. I'll try and put some images here, just so you can see the kind of thing I'm talking about. It originated in this little village called Sanquhar, and you can still go there. Actually, the UK's first post office, I think, was in Sanquhar. Or there's something to do with the post office anyway. Or maybe it's the oldest continuous operational, I don't know, something about a post office. But anyway, we're not talking about their fame as regards to post offices are concerned. We're talking about their knitting tradition. So the Sanquhar patterns are sort of small colourwork patterns, usually quite famously used in gloves, sort of highly decorated gloves, a little bit like Selby mittens, but in these sort of squares and all that sort of patterns. I mean, most of the Sanquhar things that I've seen are black and white. So there's that sort of black and white use, and that's how the colours are built up, although I'm sure you could use other colours. So what I thought was, I'll get my thinking cap on, and I'll see if I can find some resources from somewhere and let you see them, so that we can have a go at a little Sanquhar item. And I'll see if I can find any particular resources for a particular pattern or something like that. So I'll work towards that, and then maybe coming into the autumn, how about that? We won't bother about it before the summer, but I'll tell you about it in the summer, and then we'll maybe have a start date, maybe towards the end of August or some beginning of September, and have a little autumn Sanquhar knitting pattern thing. And by that point, I might have had the opportunity to give it a go, see what it looks like, or I might even have had an opportunity to design a little pattern that we can all try using Sanquhar patterns. So we'll see what happens. So that's my thinking. I'll let you know very soon about a summer knitting project in terms of beanies or something like that for a charity knit that we can do again. And then come the autumn, if you fancy it, we'll have that Sanquhar knitting patterns knit along. How does that sound? One of the things that I'm really keen to do is to keep sharing some of the knitting traditions that are here in Scotland. I'd say last year we did the Gansey knit along. You might remember that. If you haven't been around that long, if you go back a few episodes, you'll see the Gansey knit along, and we had some good fun there. And I'm really keen to just sort of revisit for myself some of these sort of UK-wide traditions, because the Ganseys are certainly got Scottish roots, but they've very much got roots in the fishing communities up and down the country. Sanquhar, I don't know how widely spread it is, although someone copied me in on an article, I think it was on the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. We tend to call it other things, but I'll spare you from that. There's an article on the BBC about a lady who was started a project to try and preserve as much as she could some details in some of the Sanquhar knitting traditions. So I might try and sort of have a look into that. Anyway, as we get towards the autumn, I will have some sort of pack, some sort of info pack that you can download for free from my Ko-fi channel, my Ko-fi shop, so that you've got something to get you going with as far as the Sanquhar knitting patterns are concerned. Well, that is the height of the knitting news. I hope that all sounds okay. It's been good to come back on, chat about where I am at with all my various knitting projects. I think you've had a little bit of a life update towards the beginning there. There's not too much to say, but needless to say, it involves changing job, changing a house, sending a daughter to university, nothing small. We don't do anything by half measures in this family. And then of course, I mean, this is a bit I'm not thinking about. It's about getting all of our stuff out of here into a slightly smaller property, not tiny by any stretch of the imagination, but shrinking everything down. Just Tracy, myself, and our youngest Lucy. That's how it's going to be going on into the future, in a new home that we will, be settling into before the end of the year. I told you about that before, didn't I? But a little bit more detail there. The thing is, this house that we're in is a quite a large property. I mean, from here I can see the sitting room, the dining room, the kitchen over there, a lovely big open stairway. Downstairs there's a large waiting room. This house has a waiting room. And the office, because the idea was that if you wanted to come and see the minister, you could come in, you could sit down there in the waiting room, and then you could be taken into the office. That's the sort of idea. It's a nice idea, but it's very formal and from yesteryear. But anyway, it makes quite a nice space. And then just above where the camera's sitting, I'm looking through a glass window above this open staircase that then goes up onto a half floor where there's 4 bedrooms and all that sort of thing, and lovely land and all that sort of stuff. It's been grand, but what happens is you tend to expand into the space that you've been given. So Tracy and I were sitting the other night there thinking, well, we'll have to get rid of that, and we'll have to get rid of that, and we'll have to get rid of, I mean, in my office, the desk that I'm using is this massive big oak dining table. It's absolutely massive. If we put in that in the new house that we're moving to, there wouldn't be space for anything else. So that'll have to go, and so we're just in that process of doing all that. But hopefully, we won't have to be in the situation where we're moving anywhere until we're well into the summer or beyond. So plenty of time for all that. Plenty of time to do all the sorting out and all that sort of stuff that goes. Anyway, as I say, it's been good to touch base with you again. Why do people say that? Touch base. Where's that come from? Is that a sporting reference? And why am I saying it on a knitting podcast? Anyway, it'd be good to chat with you again. Good to knit with you for a little while again at some point soon. But for the moment, Martian Leven Drasta, Agus Bianach Jagut. Take care and God bless you.